All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Believe in Eagles. I'm Mike Gill. Over there is Eytan Shander. And, of course, the Eagles play the Chiefs this week. It is a Super Bowl rematch, Shander show. So we got the probably the best game of the season. You know, Monday Night Football, here's a little something for you, Shander.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Monday Night Football in the history have only had two teams with 7 or more wins at this stage of the season. This is the 6th time ever that a Monday Night Football game has two teams at week 11 with 7 or more wins. Philadelphia 8, Kansas City 7. But let's start right there with that.
Whoa. That's it? Like, you don't give me record of the teams. You don't give me ATS record. You don't give me total records. Like, that's all you have? Come on. We need stats here piled up on this. Who favored? Did the road team favor? What was the road team off a bye in this series?
I don't have that for you at this stage of the game. It is only the 6th time ever, though, that two teams at this stage of the season have met in a Monday night game, making this one of the greatest Monday Night Football games of all time, right?
Sure. It's probably going to be a dud with all the expectation leading up to it. We'll see what the week usually provides, especially with how many upsets and all that we see. But I don't think that, this is where we are right now in Philadelphia sports, right? A game in the middle of November is somehow going to change the fortunes of what happened with the Sixers and Celtics last year, where James Harden and Joel Embiid evaporated. But if they get this random game at home against Boston, all will be forgiven. And I think this is the same mentality that I don't believe, mind you, gets carried over as much from the fan base to the players. I think, look, you're going up against Kansas City. You're going up against Patrick Mahomes. You can't afford to make mistakes. The Eagles have allowed themselves, mainly because of their defense and being able to just throw their way out of mistakes, but they've afforded themselves, maybe more importantly, Mike, some opportunities to escape that. You're not going to be able to against the Chiefs. With that said, if they play mistake-free football, I don't know what we've seen with this Chiefs offense that gives you confidence they can keep up with the Eagles.
Well, oddly enough, Eytan, I'm glad you brought that point up, because you look at the game they played in February at the Super Bowl, 38-35, 73 combined points, third most in Super Bowl history. Mahomes and Hurst combined for 7 touchdowns. It's tied for the most by a pair of quarterbacks in Super Bowl history. You know, the Chiefs scored on every single drive they had. We famously know that during the second half. They joined the Eagles back in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in 17 as the only team to accomplish that feat. So that was an
offensive Patriots, mind you.
Exactly. But that was an offensive explosion. How different are these two teams that just met in February?
Much different, right? Much different. Not so much from a chemical makeup, although, look, Travis Kelce's injury, clearly this Chiefs offense moves a little different. And there's nothing wrong with relying on Isaiah Pacheco more on the ground. They should be doing that a little more consistent, but that's not Andy Reid's MO either. The Chiefs offense looks a little different, and it doesn't look like a team that could walk into many games and put up 38, 40 points. At the same time, it is still a little shocking to see a guy like Mahomes do what he did, let's say, in Denver. With that said, I don't think the Eagles offense is much different, yet here we are where we've seen back-to-back weeks, no touchdowns, no points really in the second half. So there have been times in which this offense just stops generating momentum and ultimately scoring points up on the big board. I think that's probably your biggest issue right now, which is from a chemical makeup, the Eagles are way closer to what we saw in February. But at the same time, from a result standpoint, they're volatile, much like Kansas City. Different means to the same end.
Kansas City 3-point favorite, over under 45.5. The odds to win a Super Bowl, Eytan, right now, Kansas City plus 450. Philadelphia plus 500, depending on the book that you're using. So these are
3 points is ridiculous, by the way.
But you like it or you don't like it? Why? Give me your expository on why 3 is ridiculous.
Well, look, this is generated from numbers and stats initially, right? So where it separates, where books and opening lines may separate themselves from just all math, where it's kind of like the sprinkles or maybe even just the frosting, that big vat of frosting that like the professional pastry chef has and is finishing up in the presentation of that. That's like home field advantage, if a team is publicly bet, injuries, travel, weather, stuff like that. Like the line is generated originally from certain stats, if you will, key stats, if you will. So I get it. The Chiefs are going to be favored in this football game, but 3 points, like whatever, what do they add on? Weather? Okay, I don't think weather impacts the Chiefs in a more positive way than it does the Eagles, if in fact there is weather, which it doesn't look like there's going to be impeding weather or anything like that. So we're talking about a publicly bet team like Kansas City that should get a little bit more. The Eagles, I imagine, are one of the most publicly bet football teams across the country week to week, especially as they keep winning football games. So where travel, all right, so you're telling me that travel and playing in a hostile environment, something the Eagles have done consistently this year and won, is enough to give the Chiefs 3 points when their offense hasn't looked consistent anywhere near the point at which the Eagles have. I don't know. It seems like 3 would be one I would take the Eagles.
All right. Interesting breakdown there. Now, the last time, Eytan, both Super Bowl teams got back a rematch of the Super Bowl was 93, Cowboys and Bills. So if one of these teams does not get back, which one is it?
I think it's the Chiefs. It is. The Eagles have overcome so much this year, mostly of their own doing, that it feels difficult to fade them in a which who's who type scenario. I think the Chiefs have shown that as dominant and as special of a talent as Patrick Mahomes is, ultimately the wheels can stop. And you can't simply rely on Patrick Mahomes to win a football game. The difference is that the Eagles have found ways to win games without solely relying on Jalen Hurts. Chiefs haven't done that yet, and I think that's what separates the two from me.
Okay, so I'm going to throw some numbers at you, some betting stuff out there. If people want to get involved with that, we'll kind of morph it all together. Chiefs have held opponents to 20 or fewer points in all 7 wins. They're 7-2. They are 0-2 when they allow more than 20 points. So, do the Eagles get over that number 20?
This is a true. Now, again, you're going to bootstrap it to whether or not the Chiefs win or lose. I understand that with that trend. That's why you lead with it. But this is the most difficult thing I think anybody can predict.
They give up
the Eagles
16 points a game, 15.9. It's second best in the NFL.
The Chiefs.
Yes.
Yeah. Steve Spagnuolo has done a magnificent job coaching that defense and should be credited every single day. And all the sports talk. My guy, Seren Petro out there. I don't care who it is. You all, and Seren's a great guy and he knows better, of course, because he definitely appreciates Spags. But all the people calling up and everything, get Spags out of here. I don't even know if that's what they sound like in Kansas City, but they sound like that in my head.
Probably not. I think they're a lot more.
Get Spags out of here. All that stuff. Well, look at you now. Look at you now. You have this defense. I don't know. And I think this is the toughest thing we'll look at on this entire sit down today, Mike, is trying to figure out whether or not the Eagles can score 20 or more points, because they can score 17, 18, 19 points. They can score 15, 16 points and still win this football game. They can win ugly, especially if they're getting Hassan Reddick that front, if they're getting to Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to lean and say they do score more than 20, but I don't think it's a death sentence if they don't, despite the trend you laid out.
Okay, so is this a death sentence? Andy Reid. This is an unbelievable number, by the way.
It is. It is a death
21-3. 21-3 off
Who
of
are the
a
three?
bye. They've won 5 straight off a bye. And by the way, Nick Sirianni is 3-0 off the bye. So does the bye matter here?
It matters for Andy Reid. Who are the 3 that he lost to off the bye? I would stake claim that the Philadelphia Eagles are as good, if not better.
I can tell you the last time it happened. It was 2012. Andy Reid was the coach of the Eagles. They lost to the Falcons.
2012. Was that Vic?
It could have been Vic or Cobb, somewhere in that range.
Was 2012. Vic was out of the league then? He wasn't playing for Atlanta?
I mean, you're asking me to do a lot of research that I wasn't prepared for.
You have a computer. I can see it reflecting off of your glasses. You're looking at a computer right Now I don't want to touch anything because I don't want to mess up my connection here. I'm afraid that if I hit one button, I'll freeze up. All right. So I want you to take care of the research.
The
My
Eagles
point
were
being,
4-12 that season, so they were terrible. It was Andy Reid's last year. 2013 is the first year of Chip Kelly. The quarterback was Michael Vick.
there you
He
go.
ended up
There you go.
getting hurt that year, and who
There you
knows
go.
who played
So,
quarterback in the game against
yeah,
Atlanta.
Eagles,
Okay, you want me to
Eagles are
find
pretty
that for you?
good. Well, no, my point being is that that's the last time it happened. And I would think the Eagles are right up there, if not as good as any team that Andy Reid has faced off the bye. It's going to be tough, but you can't ignore that. You have to tip your cap and fully embrace what Andy Reid does after a bye, because he must give these guys off, like, go do whatever. He must pay these guys cash under the table and say, like, go do whatever you want on me, because these guys come back ready to fight a war for Andy Reid every single time.
By the way, the quarterbacks of that game were Matt Ryan against Michael Vick in the game. The Eagles had LaShawn McCoy playing running back in that game. They had Deshaun Jackson, Jason Avant, Jeremy Maclin. I mean, they had a solid group of guys there, but not a good team. They had a lot of injuries that year.
No.
Got Andy Reid fired, and now Andy Reid is in Kansas City with Chiefs. By the way, Patrick Mahomes is 5-1 on Monday night. His only loss, 54-51. So it sounds like he showed up in that game, but they somehow lost that Monday night football
Right.
game here. So this is obviously a really good Chiefs team under Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. But as you kind of hinted at earlier here, you got the quarterback coach together. But what do you make of the rest of this Chiefs roster? Who's got the deeper team?
I think the Eagles have deeper spots, right? Like their secondary is so thin, and they've been dealing with injury. And even when guys are healthy, it seems like people are leaving left and right. And Darius Slay hasn't been as fantastic as we kind of hoped at times. Tough job that he has going up against the big name. So I definitely understand it. But I don't necessarily know if Kansas City's deeper, whereas they're not as thin, if that makes sense. I think on offense, the offensive line the Eagles have, they just churn bodies out. And it's almost to the point, Mike, where if a guy goes down, you recognize that there's a little dip in talent to maybe a dip in talent, but you recognize as well that this guy is going to be as well coached and prepared as any backup offensive lineman coming in, especially in the middle of a game, than any other team in the NFL. I mean, the Eagles have just proven that with Jeff Stoutland. So they're deeper there, I think, better overall than an underrated Chiefs offensive line. Receivers, I mean, come on. Like the Eagles have the top two, arguably, at least in the NFL. They have good running backs. I think Jerick McKinnon provides a level of receiver that hasn't fully been explored yet by the Eagles. So you're starting to see that Gainwell, maybe a little bit with Swift. But if the Eagles could identify even a role like McKinnon, but look, I think it's probably a push right now because of Swift and Pacheco, but ultimately comes back to quarterback, man.
Fun game, man. By the way, speaking of quarterback, Jalen Hurts has won 12 straight games against teams with a winning record. That's unbelievable. It's like, hey, we talk about this gauntlet of games coming up, and it's like, no, the Eagles win these games. When the team has a winning record, they win the game. It's so much fun that these two teams, and I think, Eytan, it's the best pairing in the best time of the year. It's not like a week 4 game where people are still like in preseason mode. It's not like week 15 where the two teams are kind of like figured out where they are in the standings. Maybe they've clinched. This is right smack in the middle of the season. Both teams coming off of a bye. This is the best of the best playing at the best time. It is truly the best game of the year, and that's why there's so much involved here. So coming out of this game, let's each give a little bit of a Eagles Chiefs crystal ball. How are you viewing this in your head? How do you see this game going? Super Bowl 38-35. Chiefs only giving up 16 points a game. Eagles offense not as good as it was last year. So do we get high scoring? Do we get a defensive battle or somewhere in the middle? You go first.
Yeah, I think you're actually going to see a lot of what these two teams are. And what we've seen recent might be a small, skinny departure from their DNA this year, which is the Eagles are going to slow down. The Eagles are going to make a mistake or two. The Eagles are going to succumb to a defense at times better or just at times better prepared. And the Chiefs are going to make mistakes too. I think the Chiefs, you're going to see this uncharacteristic. You'll hear on the broadcast, oh, that's an uncharacteristic mistake from Patrick Mahomes, Rich. And it's like, well, not necessarily in the sense of where this team has been. Pacheco, somebody's going to put the ball on the floor. I just feel like for all of the expectations, especially as you just built this up, because I know you're not alone doing this, but this is not going to be a 54-51 shootout. I would be surprised if both teams got over 20 points. I think you're looking at a 21-17, 21-16, 20-15 type game where it's going to be desperate. And you're really going to have to maximize points. And ultimately, defenses will step up, pressure the quarterback, make plays, as they both kind of have all year.
Fast, look at this. A fast stat for you here. Patrick Mahomes, think about this, Eytan Shander.
Yes.
Is 39-6 when the calendar flips to November and December. 39-6. They have won 14 consecutive games in the month of November. That is unbelievable. 14 in a row in the month of November. So obviously Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, when the game's getting more important, they start to find ways to win. But as I talked about before, Jalen Hurts has won 12 straight against teams with winning records. So you're looking at two guys at the top of their professions right now. And I'm trying to find a way, that Andy Reid, your guy Steve Spagnuolo, can figure out a way to find out if Hurts is hurt or just unwilling to run because it was early in the year. I think if Hurts pulls out that card in this game, that could be the difference in the game. Hey, we haven't really showed this all season.
Yep.
But now that the second half of the year is here, maybe we pull that out and you see Hurts on a little bit more design, the RPO, because teams are not respecting the Eagles' run. Do you agree with that?
No, not in the slightest, which is bizarre to me that they have.
No, you don't agree with that, or yes, you do agree with that?
They are not respecting the run.
So you agree with it? Yes.
Yeah, you threw like 4 double negatives in a row in there and then asked me if I agree. You Chris Russo'd me. Nah. You agree, right? I was just like, yes, I agree with you. And it doesn't make any sense. It's bizarre with the offensive line and the back quality that they have. No idea what's going on.
Yeah, so we want to see, me anyway, want to see if the Eagles can get the run game rocking and rolling with Hurts a part of it, because it's evident that teams are not buying the Eagles' run game if they don't think Hurts is a part of it, and they completely shut that run game down. Give Hurts a lot of credit. He has come so far as a passer that he is passing this team to victory 8 times this year. We'll see. It all unfolds on Monday Night Football. We'll give you a couple quick thoughts here. Give us a couple of ways that our listeners and viewers out there can prosper by making it this far in the video.
Look, we appreciate you as always. We want you to hit the thumbs up button and continue to subscribe here. Any comments you have, by all means, let us know. Agree, disagree. I know that there are going to be plenty of people within our own betting and fan community that don't like, that's insane, whatever Mike or I may have to say. So that's fine. We welcome. If YouTube allows it, we'll allow it. That's kind of how my mantra has always been. The underdog community, though, is really making a lot of money. And as Mike will show you, we've got a free square for you below this week. You can jump in over, under half total yards. Going to be for a player out there. And it's such an easy way to make some money because you're building these 3-4 player cards and you're going over under totals. And it's predetermined at fair numbers. They're going to beat the books for player yard. They don't move. A lot of this stuff locks in. You have to be 21 or older, 18 and older in a bunch of states, but 21 or older mostly. We have a link for you below. We'll match your first deposit up to $500. It's easy. You can hit me up at Shander Show, at the Mike Gill Show. You can hit us up, ask us questions. Hey, the Josh Allen is over under 250 rushing yards. Would you take it? And Mike will tell you, no, I wouldn't take him to go over 250 rushing yards. So jump on in. You can ask us questions. We'll guide you through it, but it's really an easy way to beat the books, to bet around all of that, legally do it at Underdog and make some money.
I'm looking forward to the people making money more so than this game. I like when our viewers prosper. And now this is just an example. There are other players, not just Garrett Wilson, because I don't know that Wilson and Wilson are going to hook up all that much, but you get the gist that there's
you get one catch for that, though.
That's good. Yeah, you can get the one catch.
Absolutely.
This number in play this week. The Chiefs are 4-0 with Taylor Swift in attendance. They are 3-2 without. Does that matter?
Absolutely. That's the number one trend I would bet. I tell you, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce having think about this. Just help me out here, okay?
Yeah.
Let's put it to you and put it to anybody else out there. If you don't think that there's some validity to this, the best player on the field is Patrick Mahomes right now. The second best player is Jalen Hurts. Who's the third best player? I mean, you have to go resume and I'm asking when healthy. When healthy, it's Travis Kelce. Like, I love AJ Brown. Don't get me wrong. Hassan Reddick, Chris Jones. Like, you can point to different Lane Johnson, right? Like, you can point to different people, but Travis Kelce as a tight end is influencing and impacting a game that the best ever haven't done. He's the best tight end ever to play. So with that said, you're now talking about the third best talent on the field having one of the top 3, and I'm stretching it, right? 3, maybe 2 most recognizable pop stars on the planet. Who else outside Beyonce would you make that argument with?
I couldn't give you another pop star at this stage of my life.
Just how about actress? How about celebrity? How about like that? There is nobody bigger outside of Taylor Swift than arguably
I know who
Beyonce.
Taylor Swift is. I can't give you. I know who Beyonce is. The way of the world today, nobody else. There's nobody that is on that platform anymore.
This is the equivalent of going to the moon and then spending the next 6 months living in like witness protection where you can't leave your house. You've just done something that few people on this planet will ever experience and put your body through something that's just not meant to be done. And now the next 6 months of your life is just sitting there like unpacking delivered groceries and walking around in your slippers. Don't get me wrong. That's what I do. But my point being is that's the difference, Mike, of having Taylor Swift in front of you versus Taylor Swift not in front of you. So absolutely. I think the Chiefs win. I'd still bet the Eagles to cover the 3, but I think the Chiefs win.
It's interesting because the number that sticks out is the slot here. Mahomes and the Chief, if they can attack the interior of the pass defense, Mahomes is second in completions, first in yards, first in touchdown passes when targeting the slot this year. So the Eagles' weakest spot on the field, they are 30th in defense against completions and pass touchdowns in the slot this year. The slot has been a huge problem, and that's a big matchup in this game. Mahomes, he's the best in targeting the slot. The Eagles are the worst when defending the slot. That could be your difference. I like your score. I'm going to go a little higher. I got like 27-24 Chiefs here in this one.
Okay. I got 2017.
Yeah, 2017 you had it. I like that score. I got 27-24, somewhere in there. And I think, after this, we'll find out a lot about these two teams. And I think, look, is Bradley Roby an upgrade? Is he going to play? Justin Evans, is he back? And they use him in the slot. They got to do better than Sidney Brown. They can't play him in the slot long term. That'll be something the running game for the Eagles, can that get going? Do they stop A.J. Brown? Do they have an answer for A.J. Brown? That's why I think maybe we see a little bit more scoring, but not as much as the Super Bowl last year. But it's one of the best Monday Night Football games in history, and we just discussed it right here.
I love it.
On Believe in Eagles. Don't forget, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment. The subscription thing would be really huge. We really don't ask much. Just subscribe to the podcast feed right here on Believe in Eagles. He's Eytan Shander. Where can they find you? Where can the people find
At Shander Show? Odd Shopper. That's fine. Odd Shopper is the best place.
I see you on TV here locally in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
It's hit or miss.
So are his plays. All right. No, those are good. Don't forget, check us out right here on Believe in Eagles. Eagles, Chiefs this week. We're back again next week with more as this brutal schedule gets underway. 5 straight games against playoff teams starting Monday night. with the Chiefs. And you heard it right here on Believe in Eagles. Take care, everybody.